Hello there. It's Mike.
And Katie.
And we're coming at you with episode 91. What are we talking about this week?
Today, it is The Dark Knight Rises.
That's right, on this episode of Cup of Rad. Hey, Katie, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. I got a cup of coffee, which is pretty awesome.
I've got a My Little Pony best friend's cup of coffee. So it's even better.
Right? It is pretty fantastic.
These mugs are ginormous. And you know what? I love the concept of them, but it's got a tiny little handle.
Right? It's not big enough handle.
And it's not ergonomically sound. You know, I when I find a coffee cup that fits in my hand well, then I have to buy 30 of them, like my Starbucks mugs.
The You Are Here mugs?
But like if I can't comfortably hold onto the handle, it's not worth it.
Well, yeah, the You Are Here mugs are pretty nice too, though, because they also stack.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And they also look really cool, and they're like a really nice cup of coffee.
Yeah, it's a perfect size, right?
It's not too big and not too small.
So yeah, some of these giant ones are awesome, but they're just, they don't...
Well, I guess they're supposed to be made for like lattes or something, right?
Yeah.
Or soup.
I guess. But I'd rather have just multiple cups of coffee. But these are fun. They're like moments of epicness. Little rad moments of epic coffee.
Speaking of My Little Pony, what did you pick up at Toy Traders?
Friendship in disguise.
That's right. Brian over at Toy Traders hooked us up with My Little Pony
and Transformers crossover comic.
That's right. So next week, you'll get to hear Katie's review on that.
Oh, now it's all like intent. Now I have to read it, man.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm
You're
gonna
like,
do.
yeah, I declared it to the world. Oh, I have
it's
Cup of
homework.
Rad
You got homework. We opened up a box of Toy Traders. We're gonna be doing we're gonna get some singles again. I haven't done singles in a long time. Just to get caught up more and feeling a bit kind of behind on things. I'm not doing any Marvel or DC myself. I'm just going to be doing Turtles and Power Rangers because I can trust those books to be solid titles. Unless there's like a mini series or something from DC or Marvel that I can get that's going to be... Well, no, but like...
They'll suck.
No, there's been some good mini series though. Okay. White Knight stuff, all that stuff's been solid, right? Like, okay. So looking at that,
I don't trust them.
the limited stuff, not the ongoings. The ongoings are what always
is
sucks.
where they get all long-winded and awful. Yeah.
So, but speaking of that, I'm going to be doing the ongoing for Turtles and Power Rangers, but they've been solid books. So,
but yeah.
But I also signed you up to get back on My Little Pony.
Yeah, apparently, I mean, I'm not mad about it, but apparently I'm going to be collecting My Little Pony comics instead of graphic novels now.
Well, I figure it's a
You're tired of letting me have the graphic novel sit on my shelf for years not read?
No, I
still have 3 that I hadn't reread.
I just thought that it'd be kind of fun for you to be able to read currently.
No, it's super fun.
Because it takes place, it's now being called season 10.
That is true. And it would be cool to see some of that extension of the show and see where it goes with that. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not?
So this week... we are diving into Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises.
The final installment.
That's right. We're coming at that with that there. It's the end of our little Nolan trilogy of excitement. Mm-hmm. Some people will get to actually see Tenet, not in the United States, except for on demand. In theaters, it'll be hitting everywhere else in September there.
Do we know if it's coming to Canada or is it?
It's coming to Canada.
But if it's not playing anywhere near us or it's like just downtown Vancouver.
We only have... Well, we've only got Langley's open. We're not open.
Yeah.
It's basically Langley. So it
is supposed to be in all open theaters. It's not just limited release in those countries. Yeah. Okay.
Open theaters.
Still very difficult because for us to travel for an hour and a half to go to a theater for a 3-hour movie, we would full on need babysitting for sure on that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen what the rating is. I think he was still sticking with PG.
Yeah, but I'm afraid he might not be able to Well, he probably would.
He handled. He
liked Inception
way better than I was expecting. So.
Well, he's actually even used it as in current life, telling. He told me I incepted myself at one point for a dream of something.
Yeah,
which was
he's been trying to incept you to get me more Super 7.
Yeah, he. By the way, oh my goodness, Mike has done a wonderful job of making Kiddo his little sidekick. It's like your toy wingman. You don't need a dating wingman, so you have a toy, wingman. And it's like, he will just totally back you up on the world is going to end.
Something.
This doesn't happen. But he's gotten really good at it, and it's hilarious to hear him because it's not even prompted. Like, I'll say some sort of joke about not being able to, oh no, you don't need that. Yes, he does, Mom, because this and this. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like,
right? He's laying the smack down, and
it's hilarious.
Can't say no to those.
Well, he told me what he said something about how because I pre-ordered something for you, and he told me I could, I was officially still part of this family.
Yeah. Well, I've been seeing all the reviews for the Super 7 Turtles, and I got excited, so I asked for pre-ordering those because they're out for a while. I just got to find Raphael, so if someone can find a bead on the Super 7 Raph, I need that. I need that one. I'm going to stick with just the Turtles and some of the bad guys, not the full waves, but it was just so funny. It's like, yeah, she's part of this family still. She's still an official family member type thing. I'm like, okay. Yeah. I appreciate the understanding and the acceptance from my son. Well, he knows it because pizza's life, yo.
Pizza's life, yeah. Oh, we had some good pizza this last weekend. There's a local guy making delicious that makes delicious pizza.
It's called Making Delicious.
It's called Making Delicious. And he makes his own dough and then sauce. And then we had gone to Spent Grounds, and he uses cultured nut mozza cheese. It's like a nut-based cheese, and then some plant-based pepperoni. Called, and makes just absolutely phenomenal.
It's some of the best crust dough I've ever had.
Like, it's just so much flavor in it, in the dough itself, and it's so perfectly cooked, and it's just perfect amounts of fluffy. It's not gummy at all, and the sauce is really nice, light marinara. Yeah. And it's just phenomenal. And oh my goodness, like, I just want to open a pizza restaurant. I don't want to say screw everything else and just open you were talking about a turtle-based pizza restaurant, right? So you could pretend like you're just hanging out with the turtles, right? I put the weapons on the walls, and some foot stinks graffiti around the place, and those kind of things, and just sling everything some will pizza. Be tagged everywhere. Yeah. Bet you never thought a sewer restaurant would be as nice, right? Hey, why not get some of the old arcade machines in there, the old turtle arcade machines. What would be kind of cool is actually if you had a 2-story restaurant, and then you could have that you go into the sewer or the city, like making more of a traditional pizza restaurant feel, or like the street scene, and then or you could be in the sewer type thing, so you could have your option, like Pizza Face's lair. Yeah, right. That would be really cool. Right? Themed restaurants need to make a comeback because we need some entertainment. Right? And then that would be a way where we're trying really hard to do that. We can't do other entertainments or shows or anything like that. So it's like adults Chuck E. Cheese. Mm-hmm. Why can't we do that? Yeah, right? Without the creepy animatronic bears. Yeah, we're going to make creepy animatronic turtles instead. No, we don't need that. No, they don't need that. You don't need to have those show up in there. It's terrifying. But yeah, no, I'm totally on board with the Super 7 Turtles because they're bringing back those retro nostalgia, Radstolgia vibes. That's one of those things, though, that bit of a common thread between us because I owned them too. Yeah. My favorite was football playing Leo. Mm-hmm. That was my favorite toy, turtle that we had. And so I understand because I look at those and I recognize them as well. Yeah. The Thundercats or the He-Man themselves, the old style, I didn't really know it all. Right? Yeah. But the Turtles I did. So. I really hope because the Thundercats, rewind. The Turtles from Super 7, they said they want to get in some weird deep cuts and all that. And I'm really curious to see if they will do any of the weird turtles that they did over the years. Like, will we get to see, say, football playing Leo or ice hockey Leo, or are we going to get to see Space Cadet Raph or Sewer Surfer Mikey? Like, what are they going to do those, or are they going to stick to all like the he had an action arm that he could put the football in his hand and it would fling back and he would throw the football. It was awesome, right? So no. So that's the kind of stuff I'm curious to see if they're going to do. So it just brings back those vibes. And I was looking at getting some retro ones to fill out the collection to get those vibes back. And then I was thinking, the price wise and all that, I may as well get something new
that's articulated, that's just going to look boss on the shelf and be able to do some photos with. So,
well, because you like the style, it's not necessarily actually having to have something that was old.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that, right?
But it's just a different part of the heritage of the turtle vibe, right? From start to finish for myself to really fill out the turtle verse.
Should I tell you that I'm having a hard time with the concept of not getting Shredder?
No, you could easily order that right now. Like we could do that when we finish ordering that. Yeah,
because you were showing me your NECA Shredder. I'm like, but he's so much of the movies. Like, what about?
Oh, then we also saw how much he can't sit, and
and then he sucks with that. And and then because you showed me the picture of the Shredder, and I was like, he's so different looking, right?
Yeah.
And I forget about that. And it's like, that's the Shredder that I knew, though, right? I look at that, and I'm like, those bright colors, and I totally forgot that he didn't have a shirt on. And I was like, he looks so ridiculously awesome, though. Right? So I'm not gonna lie, I'm having a hard time.
Well, Christmas is coming.
Like I need
fourth quarter 2020 is when it's supposed to come out, so it's a good Christmas present.
Yeah. Clap
3 times if you think it's a good Christmas present for Mike.
I can see Justin clapping right now.
I hope there's a few of you. I won't lie.
Like, I hope you understand how important it is to Mike.
Right? Like,
no, you can have turtles. I'll have the shirtless ninja master.
Hey, that's fine. That's okay. If it gets part of the collection, because it's all communal collection.
I know. It's all just going to go on your turtle shelf.
You know, is there other ones you want, Katie, that you're not telling about? Because we can pre-order some still, right?
We can add things too. No, it's just Shredder. Sorry. Okay.
I still got to find Raph, though. It's the linchpin.
The linchpin.
So I've been watching.
It's a scary linchpin.
I've been watching. Because
I don't know what level you'll like accept for payment wise for to linchpin the rest of it.
Everything just says pre-orders are sold out. Most often that still means that they have product. They're getting extra product to sell.
Yeah,
so I just
big bad. We're counting on you.
Yeah, you know, I put the email listing for another place that does wait list kind of thing. Yeah. So I'm like on it, like I'm ready to hit that button. But you're not here to listen to Turtles right now, right? Like, or maybe you are. Maybe you're like, nah, don't talk about the Dark Knight Rises. We don't need to hear that shit. we need to hear more about those turtles. You know, I heard. Go ahead.
We both like just full on started talking.
Train collection.
Let's see, was it something turtle based or was it moving towards Batman?
It wasn't moving towards Batman.
Okay, you finish your thought then.
Well, it was because. News on the Super 7 Thundercats. They're coming.
My life, by the way, is all Super 7 all the time. You know how we were
Brian Flynn needs to hit us up and send us some Super
and his
7s.
Animal Crossing. Oh my goodness, Mike is just what's new in the world of Super 7.
They have a Mickey Mouse Sorcerer coming out. That's really awesome. And you should have heard Kiddo squeal when I showed him the photo of that.
It actually really is awesome.
And also little Prince John.
Yeah.
So they're doing some Disney stuff, but no, it was just they're coming. So like they're like going to be in customs in like 5 days, meaning that mid-September we'll finally get them.
Yeah,
but that's exciting. Everything's delayed, except for Hasbro. Hasbro's the only company that seems to be like on point somehow. Like I don't know who they paid off to make sure product is hitting stores. Because all their stuff's hitting, like all the G.I. Joe and all that stuff's all hitting.
It's all
and even. Yeah, and even it shows you how big these companies are. Then even Mattel with all the
stuff, right? Compared to Super 7, that makes sense.
Right, like you're like
their distribution chains are so much bigger. Manufacturing is so much bigger. They probably had to make orders so much farther behind, before, and they have the ability to most likely pay some more upfront or bribe people, but pay more upfront, right?
Yeah.
So. Extra fees or extra anything, they probably can still sink that money into it, right?
Yeah.
Just bigger company like that.
Yeah. PowerCon just happened. We got to find out there's going to be even more He-Man. They're really kind of saturating that. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a 7-inch line, which is funny because Mattel used to do the Matty Collector 7-inch line, and then Super 7 handled it, and then they canceled that, and they're just going to start all over again.
I don't know if I really want that old school Beastman in my house.
That's the origins.
I know.
So
he scares me.
I don't know if I want to wait all the way to get a He-Man.
He's bright orange and creepy.
Yeah, he looks exactly like the old toy.
Yeah, and it's scary. Like nightmarish.
Hopefully soon they'll show us what these 7-inch like fancier ones that are supposed to be 30 plus articulation are going to be.
Okay.
Hopefully soon. They just show shadows. So anyways, let's get back to Batman.
Batman. Well, what you were saying about, being excited about watching the movie, that type of thing. And I was just saying that little tidbit of trivia that I had found out was that this is actually like, this is one that was never huge on our list of like excitement out of the trilogy wise, but it actually was the highest grossing Nolan film ever. And it was at the time one of the highest grossing films ever at the time it had come out. But you had said that it's actually the only one that didn't get an Oscar nod.
Mm-hmm.
So
in some form.
Yeah. So it's interesting then you see that, you know, critically, it obviously didn't have the same praise as the other ones. And I wonder if people were more flocking to it to see the aftermath of, you know, Ledger's performance and seeing everything that had happened. And
well,
seeing how
spent months toting it as the finale.
Yeah. So. And that seeing, well, I've seen these two, I mean, really good movies, quite honestly. And like, how are they going to wrap up this trilogy? And I think it, for lack of better words, bamboozled people into going. And it was, you know, it just was so disjointed, right? So it was interesting to see. So it was exciting watching this over again. Right?
Well, let's say like the scene here is that when I saw this in theaters, I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And I never watched it again until we watched it for this rewatch. That was 8 years ago.
Yeah, that is a weird concept to think about like that. Well, it's the same thing with what was the other movie we had done that with? We watched it was Spider-Man, was it?
Spider-Man 3.
Spider-Man 3. Again, where we watched it in theater, we never watched it again until we watched it for Red Soldier, right? And but yeah, 8 years. And we never watched it again. We've owned it for years.
And the reason why we owned it was because for some reason our copy of The Dark Knight had gotten a scratch or something. And I wanted, you know,
we wanted to watch that. So
and I remember going to the store and it was like, okay, well, I could get on Blu-ray, I could get the trilogy for like $30, or I could buy The Dark Knight for $25. I was like, well, I don't have Begins on Blu-ray, so what the hell? And never put Rise in. Never, ever took it out. It was so difficult to take out of the package compared to the other two.
That's funny. But yeah, I remember, not being impressed. I think it was that initial letdown over two such good films. And then, for lack of better words, what was this crap?
Yeah.
You know, and that's how we felt when we watched it. It was just such a change, right?
And I always remember it was the idea that it was a good movie, but it wasn't a good Batman movie.
Yeah.
And that's what I remember with watching it, was like, you know, it's good for what it was, and the story was telling and the acting and the cinematography and all that, it was good, but it didn't feel like a Batman movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think a lot of it too was his impact of where Nolan was with the trilogy now after Ledger's death. He didn't really want to come back. He said that he'd come back after finally accepting a decent script that he thought could finish it. But I mean, it's understandable. His entire plan of what he had to be totally changed. So it would be difficult to bounce back out of that. You know, you were planning on something and you had to go in a completely different direction. And, but he cites a few different, source material, and he blended, I think, 3 major arcs together to get something. And I think it was almost a little too ambitious to try to blend all of that together. And it loses its epicness for being a Batman movie because it tries to say too much and it tries to include too much. And it was a little bit of like, well, if I can't do this when I like this and I like this, so why not just throw it all in there? What else are they going to do? Yeah. You know, it's my last one. I'm here. You know, so you can see the situation that it had its potential, but he was kind of backed into a corner. Yeah. So it could have been worse.
Oh yeah. It could have been Batman and Robin.
It could have been, yeah.
You know.
So how does it start out?
So you go ahead and right off the bat, you're flying an airplane. You're basically flying an airplane. We don't need the basics of how you get on an airplane. You walk on. You're with the guys from the States. They're CIA agents, and they're looking for someone, and they're being all cagey. And then you get the muffled Tom Hardy Irish voice of Bane, you know, coming through his respirator. And you find out Bane's on the plane, and they're trying to, you know, crash this thing to get somebody, right?
Guys hooded and they're looking for someone.
Yeah.
Right? So they're punching people and trying to determine the location of someone, right?
Yeah. So. And the scene itself is epic.
So the first 6 minutes of that movie are all filmed in IMAX. So that was another one of his things where this was just so pretty to see too, because it starts out again very just focused on the action, not really knowing what's going on. It's a little bit of that James Bond feel, right? Where it just jumps right into that action, and you know, why are they beating people in the face? Who are these people?
Why are they hooking another plane to a plane, ripping the wings off? Like,
who should I care about? Right. You know, like should I be rooting for the bad guy or rooting for the government, or what am I doing, right? And and then they take down the airplane and they're taking it over, and they're kidnapping the scientist. Yeah, he's a nuclear physicist, I think. So that's who they're. Then it turns into them being terrorists and taking down the plane. Mm-hmm.
So from that, then we jump to a soiree. At Wayne Manor. He's holding a ball, but he's now become a recluse. It's been 8 years, we find out. It's been 8 years since the Joker incident, the Harvey Dent incident.
So the streets of Gotham are all clear because of the Dent Act, which gave the police more power and totally cleared up the streets, apparently.
Yeah, so Batman's not needed.
Yep. And then Gordon, though, is starting to feel the weight of his lie. What he feels is the necessary evil that showed up of this lie that allowed the streets to be clean, but it is, again, built on a lie, right?
It's all built on a lie, but it's also, is it a
lie
thing?
That was worth using, right?
Yeah.
So he starts feeling more and more guilt on the conscience, and he wants to come clean. He's going to come clean about it, and then he decides not to.
Right, because all those guys will be let out, but it's that sadness that he sees within it, that it's all so fake, right?
Well, you know what, I don't know, maybe I just haven't really questioned it, but why would it nullify the laws that they had? Or is it because they assume that people would then just call for vengeance because of
that was the idea, that if they ever saw that what Dent was doing, he wasn't any better than them.
Okay.
Right.
But I mean, they talk about it's a weird concept that, I mean, if they still have these laws all in place and they still saw the point of all of them, you know, then why
it shows
on a legal
aspect, it probably showed there was still the idea that, like, the humanitarian aspect. Another lawyer saying what they were doing was probably more brutal than it needed to be. Yeah. Right? They basically didn't seem like they even had judges anymore. Basically, you were arrested and thrown in jail. That's what it kind of came across as.
Yeah, they probably, because it gave them more powers because of what had happened with him, and they thought more that he was just murdered than almost that Emergency Power Act, where it gave more authority to the police than they probably deserved. Yes. So then the criminals were probably off the streets without a due justice system, without due trial, and that's why they would have all been released. Yeah, that would have made sense then. Okay, so it probably wasn't running on what a proper legal system would be run. It was more of just you're almost guilty until proven otherwise, but no one other than police are there to prove it to you. Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
Because it showed a bit more of that corruption too, and the hoity-toityness of the cops, right? Like they
thought they were untouchable now because they're. Yeah, okay, then I can see how that runs through then. Yeah. Okay.
But you find out that Bruce has become a recluse, and he's all like, "No, Alfred, I'm just gonna chill here in my little thing.
I'm gonna hump along." Because he's suddenly totally broken.
Yeah, like. And you find out that Selena Kyle's there. Selena Kyle, Catwoman fame. She's all like, "Look at me, I'm all slinky." Played by Anne Hathaway. She's sliding around.
Me, I'm all slinky.
Sliding around.
She's just a maid. What are you talking about?
Just a maid.
Just a maid.
Just a maid that breaks into a room and steals some pearls.
She doesn't get broke. She is let into the room by Alfred. Because she is manipulating things and getting herself into the rooms because she's awesome. So I remember being very angry originally. Like, I've never really liked any version of Catwoman. Like, I have this is how she should be done in the comics. And And when I first saw this, I'm like, well, this is, I still don't even like this because I didn't like her with long hair. I liked her with the shorter hair. I wanted her just to be in the comics. Like, that was all I wanted. And I realized that that was a standard that is way too high to set. I admit, watching this the second time now, I was much more forgiving, and I'm like, okay, I can actually really be okay with this. Because the costume wasn't perfect by any means, but it was her character and the way she was acting. I did enjoy that because she wasn't crazy. Yeah,
she wasn't crazy. You know? She was still kind of, well, even when they showed her later on too, she's down and out. She's basically has hooker friends.
Yeah, and I liked that mentality more. Where it fits with the not quite the villain, but not quite the hero too. Yeah. She's more of a villain out of necessity rather than a villain out of evil.
Yeah,
you know. So
my biggest complaint is that I wish she had the hood, because I never liked the fact that she just had her hair down and out, because
that's not stealthy at all.
Well, it's not practical.
No,
like
it's not.
as a thief, right? Like you're always going to be tying it back. Anyways.
I agree, because any woman who knows that you can't do anything active with your hair down that low, I'm sorry.
Look at all the fitness things on Instagram. It doesn't happen.
Your hair is up.
Their hair up.
Yeah. Anyone whose hair is down is just trying to do it for the picture and not for practicality. I've tried that before. It does not work. Anyway, so we have Kyle breaking into the room.
In, she gets to meet recluse bearded Bruce, and he's all like, "What up? I'm a hobo-ish dude. What's going down?" I'm a
hobo-ish dude.
And she's all like, "What? I'm just looking for something, and I'm out of here." And he's like, "You're not taking my pearls." She's like, "I'm taking your pearls," and boom, gone.
I like that it shows that his mind is still there, though, because he understands what she's doing right away, and he's still very observant, though.
Yeah.
So I do like that introduction back into his scene there, that he's still there.
Yeah.
You know.
From that, how does he get? I don't even like.
Then we forget. Happens.
Yeah, like.
Well, I just remember that he's talking to Alfred, and they're trying to figure out, what she was trying to get from the case, from the safe. And he realizes that because she looked like she was dusting for prints on it. And that she was actually trying to steal his fingerprints themselves. Right. So they're trying to figure out, this doesn't even make any sense. Like, why would they need my fingerprints for anything? Right. And it shows that she's in with some bad people for sure. She takes the senator, I think, is it a senator?
Right home.
From right home from the party. And she's using him as leverage, basically, to go with these, to the criminals that she's selling these fingerprints to. You don't know who these guys are. And I like this is the part that I really like about her, though, is the whole plan that she has set up with this, that she has this phone, and she makes it seem as if it's just it's not going to be part of the plan idea. And she actually has it so that they call the cops and notify the location, because it's the phone of the guy that's missing, and she knows that would be red flagged.
Yeah.
And so she manipulates the system into working to her benefit.
Yeah.
And quite funny, though, because she takes advantage of the fact that no one assumes that she is a criminal or anything, and plays the damsel in distress and gets away that way, right? So I like that bit of it, because it shows her planning, taking advantage of the system, right? And it fits the character well.
Yeah. So you basically have Bane then. He's just going around causing chaos. And he brings the stock market down.
Well, yeah, they're criminals. They're just starting to hit the, take their money away from them.
Yeah,
right?
Trying to make the class system divide and all that. And then you realize that it pretty much is a remake of Begins and Ra's al Ghul's plan.
Yeah. Well, then what you find out about Bane, though, is that he was part of the League of Shadows, and he was kicked out from them for being, too extreme, probably, or something like that.
Yeah, that's what they said, too extreme.
But then with those fingerprints, you find out that they have actually now, Bruce Wayne is broke, because he made deals and sold things, and that was the use of his fingerprint, was to take him off of his pedestal. Right?
to bring him down. So you basically get Bruce who eventually decides that he needs to get back.
Because that's how Batman gets back in the game. There you go.
Yeah.
Because they go and break into the stock market, and then he goes chasing after them.
Yeah.
And that's how what happens is he goes chasing after the criminal with the computer bank for the system for the stock market.
So
that's how he gets back.
Yeah, and he's got to put a brace on his leg, and he's all like, "Now I got like super leg because I put a brace on it, and I can kick it through brick." Suddenly with just a brace on my leg, like
magic.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive actually. Like I want that. I want that. We're gonna go to the gym, just slap these braces on my leg.
It's like gravity suddenly doesn't matter.
It's one of those things where it's like the movie itself is not a bad movie. I got a better appreciation for the movie this time around watching it than I did before, especially watching all three of them together.
Yeah, it wasn't like, what the hell is this crap?
Yeah, but I still stand to my original testament that it's not focused enough of a story, and it's not enough of a Batman story, and the villains aren't as engaging as, say, the Joker was to make it stand out.
Well, because there's certain moments, but it was too drawn out almost.
Because they took the story of Bane and he breaks the bat. Batman's all like, "I'm going to fight you," and Bane's like, "No, you're not, and I'm going to destroy you, you little man." Right?
You know what? He sounds a lot like Sean Connery.
Oh, yeah, because he's doing like an Irish thing.
Yeah, I know. Isn't he supposed to be Mexican?
No,
or as he goes back and forth.
No, he's never Irish. He's never been Irish.
I know he's not Irish.
He's somewhere in South America. Okay. He's not Mexican.
So it's South American.
Yeah. Okay. Something South American.
Because that's what I thought
where the luchador mask.
The luchador mask came from. Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. He's almost more like Middle Eastern in this. Is this what I always thought it kind of seemed like? Because the desert that they show of the prison.
Yeah.
There's him, the whole going on about being born in darkness. And he looks like for lack of better words, a little like child of a terrorist in a pit. Like that's how they make it look, right? And it was always just weird to me.
Well, because then you find out though that the child was actually Talia.
Well, we hadn't gotten there. Spoiler. Jeez, that was like the end reveal. And then we just already jumped to the end and we didn't even get to talk about the buildup of that. By the way.
Sorry, no foreplay tonight.
Jeez. Cherry's already popped.
That idea though, like they but he said that he based it off of an Irish boxer, right? So then that's you hear stuff like that, and it's like no one really then understood the character.
Yeah, right? That's weird.
Like Bane really got done dirty twice. He got,
Oh yeah, so bad. Such extremes too.
Right? This was doable.
He was cool.
Like he still showed his thought process and the all that. But it's a weird. That's one of those whitewashing of Hollywood. Right?
Yes.
That no one was willing to stand up and say, guess what? No, he should have actually been played by someone from South America.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is what he should have been.
Yeah.
And that's what he's been portrayed in every other media form until this.
Yeah.
Right?
So I wonder why he chose not to have any sort of because he has the chemicals and everything in him. Did he just not want to have like a Hulk thing going on with it?
Because it's the realism.
The realistic aspect.
Everything's trying to be realism, right?
Okay. But you could have thought that he would have been able to take some sort of drug and make it.
So it's not like steroid.
Not like he pumps himself up to be a Hulk type thing like it can be, but it could something that like
he should have hit something in his mask and he should have just got that adrenaline.
So it's
like
adrenaline.
Crank,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like the Crank movie. Right?
Something where it would like deaden his pain receptors and push the adrenaline and all the hypersensitive, all that sort of stuff. Like you could easily do that in a real world situation. Feel where he has that, but
hit of steroid and adrenaline.
It was like I know that my only other movie one, of course, I don't read the comics enough, and I know I can't base it off of. The other live action horribleness. But that little bit of weak spot on him, where if you don't have those drugs, he's not the exact same. He doesn't have that same strength. Mm-hmm. There was no way to take his strength away.
Well, he
or
broke
take his power,
mask, and that was helping with the rare pain that he had.
Yeah, so yes, he broke his mask, but it just seemed like by that time he almost looked like he had just given up. But it was like a weird sense of like I went from superhuman insanity strength to all of a sudden I'm just a puddle on the floor. And I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, I was always very confused by his identity in the movie.
Because they try to keep it shrouded. I think with them trying to have that with the idea of Talia, they tried to keep that all hidden because it was always just pushed that Bruce kept thinking that
he was the child that all the stories were talking about.
Yeah, all the legend was the pit was.
So he was never in the league then, was he? Was involved with Talia.
Pit, and then he got out of the pit and Talia found him and tried to get him in. And then Raj was like, you can't do this. You pervert. Hanging around my daughter.
That would be why. Okay.
Freak.
Yeah. But yeah, like it went all through all of this. And then, he goes up and attacks Bane. And then he gets thrown in the pit. Batman gets thrown in this pit. And then you have this whole huge months, it feels like, of time where now Gotham is under siege and he's in the, he has to heal from a back break. And the movie kept going.
Well, because that's the thing is that they took Nightfall and they took No Man's Land.
Yeah.
And they tried, the Nightfall arc is where Bane comes in, breaks the bat. Mm-hmm. Batman goes into hiding to rehabilitate. He picks a successor. John Paul Valley becomes the Batman, and that's where you get like the Azrael bat.
Oh, okay.
Right. Because he's from the League of Saint Dumas, I think it is, or whatever it is. And so then he's like the predator style looking, like metallic metal bat.
Oh, okay.
Right. And kind of it was like their time to like try to like he was more Punisher-esque. Right. He was more violent.
But they just made the bat disappear and be broken and then not replace him with anything. So you just let the whole city
because
No Man's Land.
Because then they like tried to like half-ass No Man's Land.
Okay.
Because No Man's Land
was like a huge arc.
Yeah.
It was like three series.
Oh no, No Man's Land was like 5 trades.
Okay, because I remember that
thick trades,
and like huge, like epic stories.
I don't know if I have those anymore. But yeah, they were just like these like phone books.
Yeah, they were like, bam, here's this stories.
And that's when Earthquake hit and destroyed Gotham, and so they cordoned it off, right? So, but this was just like a terrorist showed up, and they were like, they blew up some bridges, and then the government was like, "We're out, Gotham, you're on your own."
Right?
We don't want to deal with him. We're good.
Yeah.
We're just...
But yeah, they definitely wanted...
that doesn't make sense because if Gotham was supposed to be becoming the shining beacon of, like, clean and all that, and then this one guy shows up...
Totally, it was like, no problem at all. We're just going to drop it, right?
Yeah. No. It's not even part of the states anymore. We're just going to, like, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but yeah...
and it was an interesting concept then that he still wanted... That Bane was still trying to... now we know it's Talia, yes, so I can refer to it like that. But the story, the idea of the League of Shadows wanting to continue on with Raja's plan and still using economics to take down things. And, because the whole point of taking down Wayne was to then turn the company over to Talia, right? So then she was able to get control because then she was able to be signed on to have the power of the little bomb, was it an energy
it's supposed to be
plant? Clean energy.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can weaponize it because everything can be weaponized. And that's what they needed the nuclear physicist that they kidnapped for.
Yeah.
Was because he weaponized it. He was the only one that could. And then, we got
poppity pop pop.
Poppity pop pop. Hit the little sound button in the book.
Poppity pop pop.
And so then, you have that whole manipulation. There was some really like an interesting story happening in the background with that. But then there was so much extra stuff going on with it then.
They should have made it multiple movies.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Nightfall arc itself should have been multiple movies. It should have been...
Well, he should have already come back, and then they should have had the problem. Like, they could have split it in half of him coming back, and then him having to deal with the aftermath of that.
Like, that's the thing. Is like, Nightfall itself should be a 3-movie arc.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've got the brokenness, the successor, then the idea that the successor is just as bad as who broke him, so then I've got to come back and deal with the successor. There's a lot of successes.
A lot of S's.
And the guy that broke me, like I gotta Like that's
and that alone, and then you throw in No Man's Land as well.
Right.
It's just this giant pit,
that's
right?
its own thing as well.
Well, because all the cops get all trapped underground, so you only have Blake, which totally should have been Grayson.
Mm-hmm.
That was a complete lost opportunity.
That always bugged me, and it still bugged me today at the end when he...
Because Joseph Gordon-Levitt would have been a great Dick. I know, right? I had to say it.
Well then.
You know what's funny? I had already started saying it. I'm like, shit, I can't back out of that one. He would have made it...
Well, I know what you think of.
Why don't you continue on?
No. Keep putting it in your mouth.
He would have been a good Nightwing. Is that better?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But instead, he's just Blake.
Yeah, I think it was one of those ones where it's like they didn't want Robin in their movies.
Yeah.
Right? Because they wanted to keep it more real somehow. And then when it came to the end, where they're like,
I love how that's not real enough,
right?
Though.
And then they're like, what you should use your real name, Robin, right? And like that's just a groaning, tongue in cheek moment.
Yeah, it's like you made it worse and more corny by doing that than if you had just
said, Richard Grayson.
Grayson,
right?
yeah.
What's your real name? Oh, it's Richard Grayson.
Yeah.
Like that would have been at that moment, but like, yes,
it's something,
right? Something cool. Like they could continue on, and he's gonna take on the mantle.
Yeah.
But then they make
because you could have made him that he didn't want to use his name anymore from childhood trauma. I mean,
protective
easy
services,
enough. Like, yeah,
right?
something like that.
Because the comics at one point, Grayson becomes a cop, and that would have made sense. You could have blended that idea where he became a cop instead of becoming Bruce's heir.
Yeah,
and change his name.
He still really appreciated and looked up to Batman and understood the concept of what he was doing. So you could have still used that thread to have him move into being Nightwing's character, and even if you jump past the Robin aspect, and jump to Nightwing, then it's okay.
That's what they seem to always do.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I mean, there's no way that Robin would exist in the Batman world of that universe with how old he was and how broken he was and everything. So
that's the thing that it is that it has some really great elements, but I don't think.
Oh well, then part of the reason. No, go ahead.
No, finish.
I was going to say part of the reason why chaos happened too is because Bane found the letter that Gordon had written about the speech to confess about Dent. Then he broke open everyone from the prisons as well, and so just mass chaos ensued, and they started creating their own anarchist
wouldn't that be
people
cool?
Gets to vote type thing.
Like we only got
and Scarecrow shows up again,
tiny little moment where you get to see that where like they often create their own factions and all that, like in the Harley Quinn cartoon where they've got all their that's like a better representation of No Man's Land.
Yes,
because they've gone off and there's Banetown and all these
and
things,
all the big baddies have their neighborhoods. And it's just like a giant villain mafia thing going on.
Like that's what should have happened, and that's why the movie should have been like they literally.
I like Bane better in the Harley Quinn cartoon.
They were literally tried to do 6 movies in 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah. And I remember watching it, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much more left.
Right.
And it wasn't like it felt like it was drawing it on. It's just like, oh, then there's this, and then there's this, and then there's this scene, and there's just endless scenes.
Yeah. It is one of those ones where I say it's a really good movie. It just was not focused enough, and no one was afraid to. No, now we have producers that will step in and just mess everything up. Yeah, but back then, no one was afraid to step in and
be like, "Dude, you're trying to take on too much."
Yeah, there's too much going on here. You gotta focus this story.
I think that maybe they were just so happy that he was back to do it at all. They were just like, "Sure, you do whatever you want.
Maybe.
Just get it something out. People will still come no matter what."
Right, but see that was one of the problems. Was like I don't know if they actually knew what was going to happen. Yeah, because they started planning the Superman movie, right, and then it was like all like these rumors that we were going to have the two together and blah blah blah, and then Batman dies. That idea that he dies in this one, and then Bale's like, I'm not coming back for Batman vs Superman. Like, I'm gonna cast someone new. Yeah, right. Like it's not gonna work, and like.
I totally forgot he died, huh?
Or died.
Yeah, but for all intents and purposes, he seems like he blew up over the bay. But
But remember, at the end, it was the autopilot was fixed. It was fixed months ago.
Oh yeah, it was. Huh?
The programming. So
I remember when I watched that, I'm like, "What the hell is this?" Even this time around here, I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is how they're going to end the damn movie? Was him blowing up?"
Well, it's because the idea was that the entire idea of the franchise, this franchise, is that Batman is not Bruce Wayne. Batman is an ideal. Batman is a symbol.
And so I had to tell myself that and be like, okay, so Blake, it's almost still that concept where that philosophy of Batman is then ignited in someone else, and even Gordon is still.
And which I wish I would love to have seen him take on the role,
right? And I know that they showed it because then he shows up in the Batcave and all that sort of stuff. So there's that concept
because if you can splunk, you can be Batman.
Yes, let's do it, man.
I learned. That's what I learned.
That's what I need to do, and
so the funny thing with this though is that after watching this, we asked Kiddo what he thought of it, and he's like, "I liked it," and he actually said that he liked this one more than The Dark Knight. Yeah, and which I thought was surprising because he's like, it didn't feel like there was that much talking in it, and I'm like sitting there going, "Oh, I'm getting bored."
Yeah, like, where's the action?
It's humorless. It's So it's a weird.
I still believe that it's whatever is recently watched is his favorite.
Nobody still said Begins was his favorite.
Yes, I know, but
he
I wondered why he seemed like he almost did not like Dark Knight Returns.
Maybe.
Or The Dark Knight, sorry.
I think he was,
which is odd, right? But maybe this was a little bit of an easier story to follow because there was a little less manipulating, because we like the psychology of the Joker and all that sort of stuff. So maybe that's why. I'm not sure. Be interesting to ask him, maybe in a month or so from now and say, hey, you remember this, and what he would think. But I don't know. But
it's definitely a lot, but he enjoyed this one more.
So what did you think about the reveal that Talia was actually the bad guy, and all of a sudden Bane melts into the background and just loses all of his confidence?
It's another one where I was like, they did Bane dirty again.
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to be the master manipulator that breaks the bat. He's supposed to be the one that breaks the bat without anyone's help. He's
supposed to have been doing what he was doing in the movie all the way through.
Yeah, and he is the one and only to have gotten that close to killing the Batman.
Yeah.
Right? And
well, it's like they revealed that she was actually the ringleader for it, and then all of a sudden he was just gone. He wasn't even the person that was actually doing it. It's like he was literally just the puppet of her.
Yeah.
And so as soon as she showed up, he just melted away into nothingness.
Yeah. So
and there was nothing of him there.
Yeah, that's what always bugged me too for the character. They just, oddly enough, here's a fun fact. I'm going to switch gears, but Tom Hardy's only 5'9", which is hilarious because everyone likes to make fun of short men.
Yeah.
Right? But everyone loves Tom Hardy. Right? He's only 5'9" or 5'10", and he actually had to wear risers, boots, to go toe-to-toe with Bale, because Bale's over 6 feet. Mm-hmm. And they didn't.
He had to look more imposing.
Yeah, so
nice.
That's kind of why he clumps more, though, too, when you watch how he walks. He doesn't walk smoothly.
Yeah, he's stomping.
More lumbering, right?
Yeah.
So it's because he had 5-inch risers or something.
He's wearing platforms.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So there's something for you.
Yeah, okay.
So, but at the end of the day, even though I kind of gave some shit on Tom Hardy's Bane, if he had been the strength through the whole thing, I could forgive the fact that they didn't go for South American, because he was imposing. He did show the smarts, and he was a villain.
But that's the thing. That's why I liked his strength and his intelligence that he displayed, and that's what irritates me so much when Talia shows up. Is it almost looks like he wasn't actually doing any of that. He was just acting.
Yeah,
and obviously he was still strength. He couldn't pretend like he was actually beating him up. But that's what bothered me. It was all of that manipulation. He all
the power that he had, always controlling. He almost seemed like he was a cult leader.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you find out
he's just a puppet.
Was it really that they were actually working together? Because it doesn't come across that way. It isn't like my partner in crime over here is doing this. It's like, oh, Talia's here now. I can just fade away.
She was controlling him because there was almost that. Well,
he was ashamed, like a puppy or something when she showed up. It was okay, now I can be quiet now, type thing. And that's why I didn't like that. And it I think it was just, it diminished everything that he'd been building up throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Really quickly. Yeah. And that just bothered me.
Because then it just came back and it's a reminder that it was actually still just a reboot of Batman Begins.
Yeah. It's just, they still just want so much to focus on the League of Shadows and Ra's.
Yeah.
And that was just what they're dealing with. And then you also have then Catwoman going through her confusion and, you know, a conflict throughout the whole thing and trying to figure out where her allegiances lie and everything, right? She's trying to
start a new life.
Yeah.
I say it was too busy. I think it was too busy of a story. It wasn't focused enough, and which is sad because the first two entries are so solid. And then this one just was like the, you know, just like the Joker chasing cars feel like you just don't know what you're doing. And it's a solider trilogy than the previous Batman stuff by all means. You know, it's probably the most concise of a story that's been told for Batman because it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. But I still stand with that. It's a good movie. It's just not a good Batman movie.
Well, it's amazing.
Where the other two ones I can say feel like Batman movies.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised still on this one how little Batman there really was in it.
Oh yeah.
Because I remember thinking that, I'm like, well, maybe I was just imagining it, you know. Yeah. And then we watched it again. I was like, no, Batman really is barely in this at all. Yeah. And they're trying to go with the idea behind it and the philosophy, but there's very little hope in this movie, and it only happens at the very end, and otherwise it's actually a really depressing movie.
Oh, it is.
You know,
and you can see that that's where they were as producers and writers and all that because of what had happened.
Very hopeless.
You can tell that there was the trauma from all that.
Yeah,
bled into this movie.
Yeah,
right.
And you know, you see a little bit where you want to root for the collapse of the corruption and the taking back of the justice system and the, you know, almost punishing of people who were taking over and lording the money over things and everything like that. So you have that little bit of the rise up of the lower class, and you like that idea, but there's not enough positive hope and good humanity in it to really account for it, because you still have an absolute crazy man, you know, presiding over the justice quote unquote system. You know,
at the end of the day, though, they still were just going to blow up the whole place.
Yeah.
Like
that was still the plan of it. So all of that was just such a fake experiment in things. It was just a way to make it look like they had control. Right? Yeah. And make it look more plausible and why the government would allow them to do it. And so it would have had so many... It was the using of it to have further implications for the rest of the world. Yeah. And so it shows in how kind of crazy the League of Shadows is and how desperate they were, and that, you know, they had never met such opposition for their plans. Yeah. But then with her, she wasn't doing this out of the plan to take out just Gotham. She was also doing it for revenge now. Yeah. So then she had kind of broken out and brought more emotion into it. Right? So she wasn't thinking just, it is what it is, and this is, we don't have emotion tied to it. We're just doing the favor feel. Yeah. No, it was vengeance, and it was, you know, emotion behind it.
And I assume too it had to do something more or less the fact that with the bombing, it probably was to also try to take America down. Yeah. Right. The idea like, well, look, they blew up one of their own cities because it was infested.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't just the state, that city you would have been taken down. It would have been the whole country.
Yeah. Like that's where that plan was going. Yeah. Right. Fun fact too, is that almost every superhero movie, superheroes' costumes change every movie. They didn't change his costume in this one.
Oh, wow.
It's the same one from Dark Knight.
Oh, okay. Well, because they only needed it for 30 seconds of film, so why change the whole thing? That would have been a waste of money.
But see, it would have been logical with him being so broken, apparently, if he had come out with, like, the bat armor or something. No, that's where he should have came out with the bat armor, right?
Totally. And it would have made sense.
Then it would have been more of like the clear cut that we're also trying to do the Dark Knight Strikes Back, right?
Yeah,
like,
that is true.
The idea of him coming back.
Yeah.
If he'd come out in bat armor.
Not just like one super knee and then we're good to go.
My heavy breathing again.
Yeah. Well, that was, a total tangent, but talking about costumes. We finally started watching season 2 of The Tick. Was it season 2?
Oh, yeah.
Finally got got back to that. And they made a comment specifically about how he's always changing and didn't your costume change and all that sort of stuff. And so just a funny little nod about the fact that every time we see you, your costume changes. And I thought that was funny.
The pilot episode, he looked all like textured and veiny. Then fans didn't like that, so they went with more plated. And now this one, he looks more like a Spider-Man.
Yeah, like texture. So I thought that was just kind of funny. They make that comment, right? So. Yeah,
well, he also was picking up scales.
Yeah, he's molting. Around. So yeah, but anyway, so we're back to the movie.
But I don't think there's much more I can say about it. Is that it's a good movie. It's just not a good Bat film compared to the other two.
It was really good watching it again for sure. And now
I don't have as much anger about it. Yeah, but if I'm gonna watch,
but still still fits.
Yeah, if I'm gonna watch a Nolan movie, it's gonna be The Dark Knight or Begins.
Yeah, I really don't feel like I want to watch this again.
No, I don't have any desire to ever watch the trilogy again.
There's not anything to really get out of it. I think that's what I love about The Dark Knight is there's so much depth to get out of the characters and the dichotomy of them and all the psychology behind everything. There's depth to it as well as just the pure it's Batman and the Joker and they're chasing each other. So you can have the silly, light and fluffy and you can have the depth. Rise is just a depressing movie without real depth in it's just nothingness.
It's about loss.
Yeah, it's not enough substance that's positive, right?
Oh no, I understand.
There's not here's the light, fluffy, fun Batman layer, and then here's the more in depth. I want to feel a little bit more dramatic.
Yeah.
But I also feel like the superhero positivity of things.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
The only time there was hope was when he came back and lit the bridge on fire.
Yeah, that was cool.
Right.
That was really cool.
But I love it too because he's able to walk on ice when other people are falling through ice, and then he's like, Gordon, light the bridge on fire. Drop the flare. Look how cool it is. That reminded me of like the Teen Titans Go movie where Gordon and Batman are together laughing.
Yes.
Right? Like whenever you see Batman and Gordon, like, ha, 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 right? That was what it reminded me of. Like, literally, it was like the Beavis and Butthead moment where, Gordon drops his flare and Batman's like, look how cool it is. And Gordon just like,
See, that made it 5 times better right there. So we need to really think about it in different ways. Like, yeah. Okay. I can deal with that.
But yeah, so, it was fun to rewatch it. I'm glad we did. I'm glad we got through it.
It was fun showing Kiddo, got to see something different with that. I actually am kind of interested now of wanting to continue on watching some of the other DC World stuff, though, and sharing that with Kiddo. Some of the other, watching
Beaver's, and
seeing, showing him Man of Steel and showing him.
It's funny is that we've gone through the old stuff. We've shown him animated. We've shown, he saw some of that other stuff earlier on, so it would be good to go through again. And he still isn't a Batman kid.
No, he's not.
Like, we literally saw the new Spin Master toys
no
at
DC
Walmart.
Character has ever gotten his attention.
And like, I was like, they're like little 3-inch figures. They're really cool. They got lots of articulation. I'm like having a hard time not buying them because they look rad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, these would be cool to play with and all that. But I gotta like, be cool, right? Like, and even I've showed him like the McFarlane stuff. I'm like, look at this Batman. Like he's starting to like more high tech toys. I'm like, okay, what's speaking to you to play with, right?
He likes that Hellbat though.
And if it gets him to play with toys, then maybe I might. But that idea of like, he looks at it, the Batman, and he's just like, yeah, cool, whatever. Cool.
I think he likes the Hellbat because he knows you like the idea of it.
Yeah.
I don't think he likes it for himself.
No, because
he knows that it's something like that is important to you.
When I talked about getting the White Knight bat, he looked at me and said, Dad, you don't need another Batman.
Yeah, and then I was like, kudos.
And I was like, but it's the White Knight Batman. It's like really cool looking. Like,
he told me, oh, by the way, I sound like you today.
Yeah. Well, I've been wanting to buy a McFarlane toy because I wanted to check it out, right? Especially their DC stuff. Their DC stuff looks really cool.
Yeah.
But there's been nothing out yet that's been like, I need to get.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, the Titans that they're bringing out later this year will fill that void.
He did like Teen Titans Go, but that was it, right? And but that was just more of the ridiculousness. It's just pure humor. It's not really enjoying those characters.
No, because he's not. He doesn't want to care to read on.
But that's like the only thing he's ever. He liked Teen Titans Go. He's had a shirt of that before, and he liked Batman Lego.
Yeah.
And he liked
But that
those.
died quick.
But that was really, and that was
died
more of
quick.
just a Lego basis. But that was, so it's interesting. Yeah, the characters themselves have never really spoken to him about that. Superman has never really spoken to him, anything like that.
No, it's a strange kind of feeling.
But I'd be curious to try watching those ones again. Not like they're not wonderful representations of the characters themselves.
Well, no, they're pretty good though.
But like, I really want to watch Man of Steel again. But I love that movie. So
I guess we need to do an DC failed extended universe episode.
There you go. Well, because I mean, eventually, I would like to watch. When Wonder Woman 84 comes out, I wanted to make sure we watch Wonder Woman before that.
Yeah.
But
that was a solid flick.
Yeah. So to be able to watch some of those again,
I'm excited to see Snyder's Justice League when it comes out next year.
I am too. I want to see all the little bit of tidbits that we've seen. I am interested to see.
I want to see what he's going to do with it. Like I think that. He's
got so much hype to live up to for this thing. Holy moly!
It's gonna make or break his career.
Yeah.
This could be, but I loved what he did with Affleck's Batman. I think there was a lot in it to like.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much in Justice League, what we saw from Whedon's cut.
Yeah.
But
it had good potential. I think he seemed like he did a good job to understand it more. So.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what his cut will be and how different it is. I'm always up for more Batman. Like Pattinson's going to be his Batman. They're still saying that's going to be a trilogy. That started filming again, actually, because they're doing it on a soundstage apparently, so they can control things. I'm really curious.
We'll still always be there for it. So,
Keaton's supposed to be coming back in the Flash movie as Batman.
Is Ezra Miller still being Flash?
Yeah.
Really? I wasn't sure if he was going to be ousted from anything. So
right now he's still. But
I liked him. He's not a problem with it, but it's still not Barry Allen that I would recognize. And that's just the story and the writing itself. Yeah. It's not anything to do with him. It's, I would love to see Wally West in it, but I know that the whole world is Barry Allen now, so I understand it. Well, but he's not Barry Allen either in the movie. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, the dude that is directing it as of right now, because they've gone through like 4 directors.
Of course,
is the guy that did It.
Oh, okay.
Chapters 1 and 2.
Oh, okay.
So
those are good movies, but
he stayed on long enough for them to start talking about like casting.
But it's just like it's still you have to show the understanding.
Well, they're doing Flashpoint right away.
Okay,
they're jumping right into Flashpoint because they want to try to like fix everything. They're using this as a
fix everything for what point though? They aren't making a cohesive universe. They just do whatever the hell they want. So what are they trying to fix?
I think they're trying to again. With what they talk about, but they're trying to figure out with the idea of like, because they said they're trying to get Keaton back as a mentor. He's going to be like an old Batman, so they might try to bring Pattinson's Batman in as a young Batman as well. So
he shouldn't be Bruce. He needs to be.
They're going to be doing
Batman Beyond.
They're going to be doing like McGinnis. But they're trying to, even, hey, let's jump back to Rises. Even if they had somehow made Levitt McGinnis for some reason, even though he was never a cop and all that,
still would have been a cool Easter egg. Like, right? Well, they haven't learned the importance of those Easter egg stuff,
right?
And any of that stuff.
But yeah, I don't know what they're trying to do, because like Wonder Woman's its own thing, Aquaman seems to be its own thing, Shazam's its own thing.
Yeah,
they're still going ahead with Black Adam with The Rock. I don't know. They're doing a multiverse, and they're gonna throw as many things at us as possible right now, because they're still saying that Affleck might be coming back to be his own Batman again.
I'll watch all of it. I complain about the Flash not being correct, but I'll still be there and watching it. I want to be accepting, because I know that it's never ever going to be an exact representation of the graphic novel or the comic or anything like that, and I can understand that to a point, but it just I don't know.
I think I'm like, especially with watching this over again, I realize that the movies, personally, I don't think the movies can ever be a definitive version.
Yeah.
I think if you took every live action version of Batman, let's just take Batman as a character, and smash it all together, then you get a definitive version. But movies are the same as comics.
I was going to say the comics would be the exact same
It's
thing.
the idea where maybe one story, our writer and artist speak to you, and then maybe the next arc is a different team and they don't.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm trying to visualize every version that we've had, where there's like, you had the Burton arc, and then you had the Schumacher arc, and you had the 66 arc, and you had the animated arc, and you had the Nolan. Now you've had the Schneider arc. Like, yeah. I think that's I think by viewing it that way kind of takes away some of the anger, because it's like they literally are like the comics. They're just in a visual form.
Well, and I think too is because the comics can happen so much. There's so much in the past. There's so much more of them too, that it allows us to be a lot more forgiving, because you can move from this version to this version quickly, opposed to I have 3 versions to choose from, and I have to choose one of them. But I can do the same thing with Wonder Woman in my comics too. Like my Rucka Dodson run is my definitive Wonder Woman. I love it. But it was also the first one that I also really was introduced to. So there's a lot going on for it that would make it more, to me, so definitive, right? But I really like a lot of the new stuff still too. And so you can pick and choose between different things like that. And that does make sense. Right, we just, as I say, we just have less live action to choose from than we do for a comic.
Because there's tons of people that absolutely despise the Marvel stuff because it's not their version that they like. Right? So it's just that idea where I think trying to like thinking of it that way, where it's just arcs.
With Rises, I like not having so much anger towards something, where you can be like, I can say comfortably still that it wasn't a great Batman movie, but I don't feel like it was a waste of my life, and there's no point being angry and frustrated and bitter about it. It's like, okay, well, we've seen other things from Batman since then, and there was good and there was problems, and I'm frustrated that they aren't making something cohesive like Marvel was, because I think it was such a masterpiece and well thought out. But if that means that we can just get other versions of things, but if they can still be more creative and loose on their storytelling, where they don't just still keep telling the same story, as long as we're not watching the same thing, right? I don't want to have the same story told 5 different ways. I want to be able to have this story, and then someone tells something from the middle of Batman's career. Maybe someone does a Batman Beyond type thing. I don't know.
I just want to see more villains.
Right? Like, I don't want to just see Joker and let's maybe take a break from Bane right now. And
because that's all we've seen, right? Like, we literally have seen the same characters over and over again. And that's what I think needs to really kind of pull away from. Right. And
so just some variety for things, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh, well, there you go. There's the end of Nolan's trilogy, and some extra DC nuggets of goodness. Probably find out some more DC stuff, because around the 20th of this month, there's going to be the whole DC fandom. Ooh. So they're going to be dropping trailers for the Suicide Squad. And some more information on Pattinson's Batman and some other things, comic news and all that. They're doing their own little mini Comic-Con online. So that'll be exciting to watch and see. That's coming up. So next week, right now, it's going to be a bit more of a what's up, what's happening, what have we been doing these last few weeks that have not been Batman related. What have we been watching? What do we recommend? And of course, you're going to want to come back for Katie's review of My Little Pony Transformer Friendship in Disguise.
That's going to make or break everything right there.
That is what you need to come back for.
I'm going to start my homework now.
There you go. So, all right, everyone. Stay safe and stay rad.
Thanks for joining us, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening. Want more rad content? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review.
And remember, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes!